Welcome to the GameChanger 00100 show. I am your host, GameChanger. Well, we were talking about mothers and daughters and how in the black community, mothers tend to be jealous of their daughters, especially if their daughters just so happen to be exceptionally attractive, more so than they ever were. But they definitely are more attractive than the daughters are now. It's unfortunate, but it is a reality that exists. And this doesn't just end with mother and daughter. This is something that they worry about when dealing with young versus not so young. A 40-year-old woman who had her daughter at 20 finds herself jealous at her 20-year-old daughter and her friends and her nieces and everybody else. That just is what it is. Now, how they deal with that jealousy is something that's unique. And what it boils down to, hit the like button. What it boils down to is women were not meant to be single as long as black women have remained single. Other women tend to find their mate at around 27 years old, so it really doesn't matter, what their daughter looks like when the daughter becomes 20 because the mother is established with her husband. However, if you find yourself single at 40, which far too many black women do, then you're starting looking at your daughter and the women in her age group as competition because you are still competing. You should not have been competing for so long. But you chose to do so. And the reason that you chose to do so is because it gave you leverage over men. You figured that the longer you wait, the longer the men would be waiting for you, and the more desperate they will become in that wait. Desperation that you could leverage to your advantage. But unfortunately, they will be equally desperate for a younger woman. In fact, there'll be a greater desperation for younger women. And there'll be a greater desperation for international women. And there'll be greater desperation for international cultures. You see, not every man is just going to sit around and lower his standards for one particular ethnicity of women. Instead of for casting a net downward, they cast nets outward, making the market very difficult for you. Now, you realize your mistake, but you will not share this mistake with your daughter. You hope that she will follow the same mistake of waiting. Therefore, she's out of her market, or she's out of the market during her 20s, eliminating competition for you. But without further ado, hit that like button and we'll get into this. Fair use, people. Now, you might be asking, who this woman? This woman is Kenya Moore. Kenya Moore is an extraordinarily attractive woman, yet an extraordinarily crazy woman. Now, I know all women are at least four crazy, but this one is exceptionally so. I don't know if she's hotter than she is crazy, but she's older than she is both. So keep that in mind while I play this video for you.
Her take up for me. Like, why can't you just speak to her? Why do you have to treat her that way? And my mother was like, I've never had a child. I don't know what you're talking about. They were arguing, and I just remember crying. My cousin was crying. And after she was done speaking to my mom, her mother, she came to me and she said, I will dog you for the rest of your life. She was like, I will never be your friend. I will dog you I will never forget those words. And that was, after that, I think it just left me feeling like that's the end of it. That was the end of it. And I don't know what happened to me, but over time, I think I just developed like this thick skin that said, I'm going to show her wrong. Like, you're not going to destroy me. Anyway, my mother was calling the pageant director and was telling her I was an alcoholic. I was dating this old man. I was all of these horrible things, and that I should not be her beauty queen. I was a horrible representation. And she tried to get my crown taken away.
I think it's a form of, do you think she's suffering through some form of mental illness?
Absolutely. That's why I studied psychology, because I wanted to find out what was wrong with my mother. It was my only passion in life at the time. I wanted to know what would make a person look their own child in the face and say, "You are not mine. I never had you," and was confident, like in her eyes,
Yeah.
she meant that. And I've always felt that nobody was ever on my side. No one ever fought for me, the child. She pretended like, I didn't exist.
Please tell me when my microphone is off. I was talking for a little bit. Y'all, please do better. All right, I'm put this one on private because anyway, as I was saying, Kenya Moore is a dark-skinned woman. And as a result of that, and she's also a very beautiful woman. And as a result of that, it takes away women's ability to blame colorism, to blame the whole light skin narrative. Society is conditioned to favor light skinned women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It takes them away, it nerfs that ability. So, of course, her mother, who's presumably dark skinned like her, or maybe even darker, is going to push back on the notion that Kenya Moore, her daughter, is both dark skinned and beautiful, because that puts the burden of beauty on the individual, not the group. You can easily say, oh, no, they're discriminating against this particular group of women. But then when they show an exception, and this is that, then it's like, oh, well, that's different because, and they don't really have anything to complete that sentence. This is your daughter. She has a crown. She has been validated by society and propped up as a standard of beauty. And she's dark skinned, which means that you can be dark skinned and beautiful. And guess what? You can be dark skinned and not beautiful. And that is the hard reality that a lot of these colorism crybabies don't want to admit to. Hit the like button. That is the unfortunate reality that the colorism crybabies do not want to admit to. So you have that going on, mothers sabotaging daughters because they're jealous of their beauty. Women were not meant to be single for this long. They were meant to get married by the time their daughters became adults. So they are not on the market competing with their daughters. They're not at the club twerking next to somebody who is your age's daughter or your own daughter. You weren't meant to do that. But your attempts to leverage men have put you in this position. So now we're going to read some comments right quick. Her mother is the reason Kenya has a bad reputation with other women in friendship. It could be Kenya, but I'm thinking that it could be the other women. Listen, I'm going to say something, and this is going to be the realest thing that you heard. Black women do not like black beauty. Black women do not like black beauty. That's why they wear bonnets. They like to hide their beauty. They like to feed their beauty junk food. They do not like black beauty. Because beautiful black women take away from their ability to claim victimhood. You see, if pretty privilege exists, then ugly, let's just say, penalties exist also. They want to be able to tie ugly penalties to race. And if and when they do that, they can say that, not being attracted to black women is racism. However, people are attracted to Kenya more, so they can't really make that connection. A woman who's both black and beautiful. It nullifies their ability to do that and their ability to get sympathy penis from me. All right. It says this isn't narcissism. This is more than likely, I don't know what that word is. Oh, it is what I thought it was. Like, I thought that they put the dash here to say that this is a continuation of the word. But let's just say grape-induced trauma. Okay, I don't even think I want to read the rest of this because whenever people just start throwing out the R word with no evidence of that, I'm going to just leave that alone. Mental illness is so underrated. Folks need to accept that crazy trumps everything, even love. Run. Do not try to compete, change, or control crazy. Accept it and move far away. Okay. Yeah. Kenya's story still breaks my heart. I love God has blessed her. Yeah. Being beautiful is a blessing. Hit the like button. I would have moved in with my grandmother that day. Yeah, it sounds like, okay, so maybe they heard a part of the story that I didn't. So, yeah. Moving on. Okay, so basically you have people sympathizing with the stories. There is more sympathizing with Kenya Moore than there is condemning the mother and what people should do to avoid it. Now, it's very difficult for a child to avoid his or her mother. But as adults, we can at least understand that, the place that an entire generations of Black mothers are coming from is not on their side. Black mothers lure their daughters into the sisterhood so they can fail as they did, leaving a open marketplace for them. But the marketplace is never going to be open as long as there's other groups of women in the world. Her dad and his mom raised her. Okay. All right. So moving on. Let's stop right there and let's move to the next example of this TikToxic behavior. Once again, fair use, people, fair use.
That are jealous and codependent in regards to their daughters, and what they will do is they will neglect their daughter's beauty in order to stifle her dating experience with men. A lot of daughters don't realize this, but there are a lot of mothers that wanted you all to purposely be ugly because they did not want you to date anybody. Those ugly haircuts that your mother forced you to get, cutting your hair, saying that your hair was unruly, unmanageable, you didn't know how to style your own hair, you didn't know how to work with your own hair. For a lot of mothers, not all of them, but for a lot of mothers that are jealous of their daughters, that is an attempt to neglect their daughter's beauty, so that way you cannot attain beauty to be able to have a dating experience, have men be attracted to you. A lot of mothers see their daughters dating as a threat. They see.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a second. It's funny that Black women have the worst hair care routine possible, and that she said what she said. Because actually, it's starting to make sense now. The bonnets, the wigs, the weaves, and stuff like that. It's like, wait a minute. I remember grandma using a hot comb and taking special care to, my cousins and my aunt's hair. But grandma was a married woman. Subsequent generations, they just put a wig or a perm or a weave on their daughter, knowing that it causes long-term damage. That's why you see all these 5 heads walking around the Black community. Hit the like button. They know that, they understand that, and they set their daughters up to fail. They tell them that a bonnet in public is hot and sexy. So basically, you have in the Black community, it's not just mother versus daughter, it's old versus young. You have the old sabotaging the young, making an extraordinary deficit of Black beauty in the Black community.
See it as a threat to their self-esteem, because growing up, they may have not had a great dating experience, or they had been rejected repeatedly. For the codependent mothers, they don't want their daughters to date at all, because they realize that if their daughter dates, who is she going to have there to emotionally dump on? Who is she going to have there to take her frustrations out on? And because of this, some women really will go out seeking a dating experience just to avoid their mother, just to get away from their mother. Mothers also will neglect their daughter's hygiene. They literally will not teach their daughter how to wipe, how to clean their private parts,
Okay, I've only been doing TikToxic of the week or TikToxic of the day for about a week now. And she's the second person that mentioned nasty, smelly boxes. Indirectly, of course, but nevertheless, she basically just said, amongst Black women, nobody taught them how to wipe their box. Nobody taught them how to clean their box. They just walk around with smelly cat, smelly cat. Why aren't they cleaning you? Smelly cat, smelly cat, it is your fault. That's what's going on. I'm personally just glad she's not blaming Jermaine. I'm glad that they are putting the onus where it should be, at least in this one video, and saying, listen, Mama didn't tell me to wipe my box. And we all heard the reasons. I heard Black women say stuff like, oh no, it takes away from the natural juices or some crap like that. Like, I've heard all of the reasons that they are not raising the stock of Vagisil. Why they don't douche and stuff like that. I hear all this stuff, but to me, it just sounds, and I'm not a woman, so I don't really know my dad or my mom didn't teach me how to clean a box, but I do know a clean box when I smell one. So when people come out, I think it was like Marcus Houston or somebody, it said, or Ray J or somebody who said that y'all more likely to have smelly boxes. There's probably a cultural reasons for that. And that is your mother was setting you up to fail. Instead of for teaching you how to clean a box, she teaches you how to dirty it. She tells you stuff like, Black women can't get herpes or some crap like that, but here we are. Just saying, hit the like button.
How often they should be showering and bathing and things like
Holy
that.
Crap.
A lot of mothers will purposely neglect this with their daughters to stifle their ability to be able.
Okay, so she's saying that a generation of black girls is walking around with messed up hair, smelly boxes, and unbathed. While the mother is bathing herself and, putting a perfume on and, well, she's not doing anything about the hair. But you get the point.
Able to attract somebody and have a dating experience. Also, dressing you, especially when you're in high school. I'm not saying that you should be allowed to just wear whatever you want, but I've also always felt as though mothers that want their daughters to dress like super, super, super conservative and like it's outside of something that is like a religious requirement. For a lot of the time, I feel as though that also is an attempt to stifle the daughter's beauty because she has no self-expression, she has no individualism, and there's a lot of shaming that goes along in the tactic of policing how women are supposed to dress, because a lot of it is, a lot of it puts the onus on women and young girls to dress in a way able to attain respect from men, but also feeling like you don't have any self-expression with how you are dressing and expressing yourself, and this has to be the only way that you can dress. So you literally will have women that are 35, 40 years old and they don't have any sense of style, they don't have any way to dress themselves outside of what their mother had pretty much taught.
Okay, let's go down the list and see what's going on here. First, we have the hair, then we have a smelly box, then we have the unbathed and an inability to dress. Wow. See, this is why I coined the phrase worst stewards of children.
Taught them, which was just plain Jane, boring, normal. And then the backhand compliments when you actually do have a nice appearance, when your hair is nice, when your makeup is nice, when your outfit is nice. The backhanded comments, so that way that can deter you from wanting to up your beauty in the future. A lot of mothers steal the essence of beauty from their daughters because
she's spitting facts here. She is spitting facts.
Because the mother wants to cheat their daughter out of a dating experience because they're jealous, or they realize that if her daughter is with a man or with someone, that's going to take away from the advantages that she's going to get from her daughter being around. A mother should want you to be your most beautiful. A mother should be teaching you hygiene. A mother should be giving you the freedom to be able to have your own sense of style and to be able to dress accordingly to that, as long as it is age appropriate. There are so many women that are in their 30s, in their 40s, and they have no idea how to beautify themselves because their mother purposely neglected it just simply because she did.
Okay, now it's starting to get weird because now you should be a mother yourself. And you're flirting with the range of generational curses here. And if you're in your 40s, or let's just say you're exactly 40, then you've been an adult for longer than you have been a child. You've been an adult for 22 years. You've been a child for 18 years. You should have learned how to wipe your box. It's like, yeah, I get it. And if your teeth is messed up because your mother didn't take you to the dentist, that's one thing. You can't really control that. But you could have figured out how to shower by then. Come on now. Let's you see, first of all, they do the same thing to the boys. They just do it in a different way. They stifle their sons to assure that Becky don't get them. They would sooner watch your son fail with Keisha than succeed with Becky. So they'll do some of the same things, perhaps not with hygiene and things like that, because they want a clean son to feed to Keisha. But what they'll do is they'll try to stifle his success. His socioeconomic growth. Meaning that if she has $55 and you need $55 to apply to an Ivy League school, you'll hear something like, oh, I don't have it. But one of the key ways that they stifle their sons, and I've seen this firsthand, and Tupac writes about it, kicking you out at 17. You see, they kick you out before you have a chance to grow into your success. This will hinder you. Now, you might, instead of pursuing, a career in corporate America or something, which you probably have an aptitude, math or science, or even the labor industry, because your sense of urgency compels you to get money right now, you go out and do something foolish, perhaps illegal. Perhaps you are homeless until your 18th birthday, and and then you just join the military or something like that. They know how to keep a black man down. Trust me. They know that kicking you out when you're when you're 18. And here's what I mean by 18. I'm not saying when you're 18, like you graduated high school. Like by the time I was 18, I was already out of high school for a year. I'm not talking about that type of, I'm talking about if you turn 18, let's just say graduation is in June and your birthday is in October. So you turn 18 in October of your senior year of high school, but you don't graduate until May. Now your grades have been consistently good and you have a scholarship and everything, but you're homeless now, and it's very difficult to transition from homeless to college student. Trust me, they find ways to stifle their sons. Just as they're doing with the daughters, to get them walking around with stinky boxes, messed up hair, messed up clothes. And what was the fourth thing? What was the last thing? Oh, bad
That as
hygiene.
long as it is age appropriate. There are so many women that are in their 30s, in their 40s, and they have no idea how to beautify themselves because their mother purposely neglected it just simply because she didn't want her daughter to get ahead in dating or get ahead with networking to build her self-esteem and to make her feel more confident. There are a lot of mothers.
Okay.
So on the opposite.
All right. So she's going to talk more about her experience with her mother, but I do want to say that, yeah, that is definitely a bad thing, what the mothers are doing to their daughters, throughout the diaspora. Once again, it's not just mothers doing it to their daughters, it's the older generation of the sisterhood doing it to the younger generation of sisterhood. She mentioned 40-year-old women like they're still victims of their mothers at that point, which maybe there's some residuals, but they are mothers themselves and they are doing it again, to where you're dealing with a generation of women who not only, are they deliberately trying to not teach their daughters to watch, to clean their box, to sabotage them. They themselves don't know how to clean their box. See, the thing about Black women is all of the traditions of femininity that took generations to develop are gone. Think of it like a recipe, right? A recipe for gumbo. A good, decent Black woman can say, my mama taught me how to make gumbo, and and her mama taught her, and her mama taught her, and her mama taught her, and her mama taught her. But the chain in the Black community has been disconnected by these narcissistic mothers. They also have been disconnected, in the Black community by, the same narcissistic mothers who refuse to have fathers in the house. Traditions of masculinity have been gone. Like, my father taught me this, his father taught him this, his father taught him this, his father taught him this. Now we're stuck with a generation of young men who are wearing dresses and don't know how to change a tire. Sabotage. Hit that like button.
Spectrum of the jealous mother, the codependent mother. There are the mothers that have what I like to call the Barbie doll complex. And so essentially what they do is Motherhood is their whole entire identity, and the daughter that they have is essentially like them creating their own Barbie doll. So instead of them being jealous on their daughter or really being codependent on their daughter, really they create a sense of living vicariously through their daughter, where they are using their daughter as like a prop, or someone to essentially project her desires onto her daughter in order for them to fulfill them.
So far, I don't see anything wrong with that. Hit the like button. So far, I don't see anything wrong with that. She said in her last video, I mean, so far she seemed like she's all over the place, but she said in her last video that mothers should want their daughters to be more beautiful. And here you have that, and it seems like you're complaining. Imagine, okay, I'm thinking of Joe Jackson. This is, the father of Michael, Tito, Janet, Latoya, the Jackson Poppy. He was a boxer, but never a champion. So he wanted his children to be at the top of something. Boxing is an industry where nobody remembers second place. He was no Muhammad Ali. So, which is why I had to think about what his name was. In fact, the only reason why we know his name is because of his children. There's no room for second place in boxing. So he took that mentality to the music industry. He's seen his children's talent in that regard. And he pushed them and he honed that talent, and he is now a success. His name is remembered because of the actions of his children. I don't see anything wrong with that. Same as, I forget the brother's name, shout it out in the chat room, but, Venus and Serena's father. There's nothing really wrong with that so far. So far, it seems like she's complaining on both sides, but let's listen.
I feel as though you see this a lot with like pageant moms, that TV show Dance Moms. Essentially, everything that the mother was not able to do or wanted to do, that is going to be the same thing that she forces her daughter to do, even if she doesn't like it. A lot of the time, the demands are very high for their daughters because essentially their daughter is now their project, just like a Barbie doll, right? You can dress the Barbie doll up. You can tell her what occupation she is going to be. You can do whatever you want to do with your Barbie doll to have her be presented out into the world, to have it be a reflection of you. So these actually will be the mothers that will teach you everything with beauty. They'll teach you about your hair. They will do everything in regards to having you be beautiful. They would like for you to be smart, and they would like for you to be educated, but it's because their ego is attached to how well their daughter is looking to everybody else.
That doesn't matter. So far, I don't see anything wrong with what she's talking about when she's talking about the mentality of the mothers. I gotta say, I don't see anything wrong. She's every parent should want their child to do better than them. Now, as far as their child may not like it, it depends on the degree to which they do not like it and why they don't like it. So say you are a failed athlete, or you just so happen to be a coach, a football coach or something like that, and you want your son to, be in the NFL. So you wake him up every morning at 5:00 and, y'all do some laps, you do some drills, I don't know. I'm not a football dad, but, you do what it takes. You understand the level of discipline that's required for him to succeed in this particular area. You understand that he's going against, every young man in the world who has, touchdown dreams. He may not like eating 6 raw eggs or something like that, but, he does like football. So, however, if you take a kid that doesn't like football at all, like myself, and just put him through that crap, then that's just torment. So it's a thin line. It's a thin line. It depends on the level of reason why, kids don't like it, because kids don't like school, but you still push them through that so they can become doctors and stuff like that. So it depends.
And essentially what happens is that the daughter is carrying on not only the expectations of herself, but she is also having to carry the expectations of her mother, because she understands that if I let my mother down, then I am also letting down myself as well. And these could be things that the daughter is doing that is outside of what she actually wants to do. It can be very performative because the mother is shaping her daughter's identity because she's projecting what she didn't get to do onto her daughter. A really good dynamic that shows this in pop culture is on the show Little Fires Everywhere, with the main character Elena, played by Reese Witherspoon, and then her eldest daughter Lexi. Pretty much, Elena wanted Lexi to be a more beautiful, a more smarter, a more educated, more accomplished daughter than she was able to be. And although that is great, and I understand that the intention behind that is good, the thing about it is that this gets pushed under the guise of perfection. And so what happens is that the daughter doesn't feel comfortable to actually be vulnerable and express the pressures that she has, and to actually say, I don't want to do all of this stuff. This is too much pressure. This is too much. I just want to live my life and do what it is that I want to do. Also, these types of mothers, they have their ego attached to outside perception. They have their ego attached.
Yes, a person should have their ego attached to outside perception. I mean, should a person only have their ego attached to inside perception? Like, think about what type of person that is, because that's the narcissism that you're talking about. The type of person who only see themselves through their own eyes is what you're talking about. They only smell themselves through their own nose. So they're walking around thinking everything is cool, but really everybody else think that they stink and they're ugly. You know, you're saying, yes, if your ego is only attached to yourself, then that is a problem. Now, she referenced a TV series. I forget what channel it came on, but I think it was Hulu. Little Fires Everywhere. Great series. I have to say, it's a spectacular series. And it's two women, Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington. The beautiful Kerry Washington, though Reese Witherspoon had her day as well. Black women tend to age better. Just stating the fact. Nevertheless, modern Kerry Washington do pale in comparison to the actress that played her daughter. Much, much hotter. So her and her daughter was homeless until Reese Witherspoon, who was an upper middle class white woman with 5 kids, decided to give Kerry Washington's character a break and have them live in their spare home. Now, spoiler alert, so, hit the mute button for about 45 seconds if you don't want this particular spoiler. What was interesting in the movie, or in the TV series, that really shows the different dynamics is, on one hand, you had the mother who wanted the best. Reese Witherspoon, she wanted the best for all 5 of her children. And then on the other hand, you had Kerry Washington, who didn't sacrifice anything for her daughter because she was homeless. The daughter, the beautiful daughter, had to suffer through the discomfort and indignity of being homeless. Now, you might say, well, maybe she didn't have a choice but to be homeless. Actually, she did. Apparently, she's an artist or a photographer. I forget, which, even though photographers are artists. And there was a picture of her pregnant that was worth $400,000. And she was sitting on that picture for years, like 16 years, because it was a picture of her pregnant with the daughter, and the daughter was about 16, 17 years old. When I seen that part, I'm like, wait a minute. You was homeless with your daughter her whole life when you could have not been? And she was like, oh, no, I just didn't want to. You didn't want to sacrifice for the sake of your daughter. So here you had two of the opposites going on here, because you had one who wanted everything for her daughter, and on the other end, Kerry Washington's end, one who is very content with her daughter having nothing. I have to say the latter is worse than the former.
To the validation that they get from being a mother and having a family, much like Elena on Little Fires Everywhere. And so that is the reason why Lexi ended up taking the for her college entrance or whatever, the poem, she ended up stealing it because she had to live up to the expectations of getting into an Ivy League college, because that was the expectation brought on upon her mother. And this really does come out in relationships with women, because
listen, I will look my son dead in the face and tell him, if you have to steal to get into the Ivy League, then steal. When I was your age, I stole condoms, and all it got me was condoms. I stole condoms not because I was broke. I stole condoms because I was too embarrassed to buy them. If you have to steal to get into the Ivy League, then brother, steal. Steal, young men, steal. I don't hold those. I think that those parents, quote me on this, those parents who paid to get their kids into a better school, you know, those ones that was arrested. I think the woman from Full House was arrested for it. You know, they just under the table just paid somebody off like, hey, you know, make sure this kid get accepted. No problem with that whatsoever. I have no problem. When it comes to your kid's future, you know, it may make you do some things that others may consider immoral. That is okay to me.
Because you pretty much have your sense of self and your sense of attachment based off of how perfect you can be in order for you to receive love from other people. And this could be based off of your appearance. It could be based off of your education. It can be based off of pretty much how society is going to perceive you, because that is essentially what has created and shaped your personality. And you've also learned that you receiving love from your mother was based off of how perfect you could be and how you could live up to her expectations that she set for you. On a personal level, this is actually the type of complex that I relate closely to. Understanding that, you know, there were expectations that had to be met because, you know, there were things that, you know, my mom or my family was not able to do. And so, of course, they wanted the best for me. And, you know, like I said before, I don't really think there's any ill intent behind it. I feel like subconsciously this is typically being done, but consciously it most definitely can.
Okay. If your mom is sending you to school, like you said on the last video, with a stank cooch, she don't want the best for you. If she's sabotaging your hair, she don't want the best for you. If she's sabotaging your clothes, she don't want the best for you. And if she's not teaching you to shower, she don't want the best for you.
Can, you know, be done, but it can be very, very damaging to daughters, because then daughters end up just having this perfectionist mindset, and they really do believe that if I'm not perfect, I am not worthy of love, I am not worthy of being accepted unless I have everything perfect. And this really does put fear in a lot of women, and it makes them afraid to take risks, and it makes them afraid to be different, because you're groomed to really care.
If you're stealing to get into the Ivy League, then you're not really afraid to take risk. You're afraid to lose, as you should be.
About what everyone thinks about you and how everybody else is going to perceive you, because for your whole entire life there is an image that you have been taught to maintain in order to gain favor and in order to gain likeness. And you don't have to live like that. You literally don't have to live like that. No one has to like you. No one has to believe that everything.
So why not just be the poor hygiene person if no one has to like you?
With you is perfect. You are actually allowed to be flawed. And yeah, like I just wanted to touch on the opposite spectrum of jealous and codependent mothers. So on the opposite spectrum
Okay.
of the jealous,
I
I
think that
cannot
was
stand the
right.
women that talk shit about the decentering men.
Should I cover this? Actually, I'm gonna go back a couple and I'm gonna read some comments. Then
So on the
I'm gonna
opposite
finish it
spectrum,
off with where she finished it off.
there are a lot of mothers that are jealous and codependent in regards to their
Okay, let's see. That hit a sore spot. I had to teach myself everything that had to do with femininity, fashion, makeup, hair. My mom never knew how to do that even for herself. So teaching me was impossible. Now, that is interesting. That is interesting. That goes to what I was saying before, how, if you're 40, you're already a generation into it. You're already deep into it. I mean, you don't even know how to teach your daughters. And this is probably a daughter that represents that. That's how far back this whole not learning how to wash your cooch thing is. Grandma knew, mama didn't know, now you don't know. And now your daughter don't know. Like, yeah. Oh, look at this one. Look at this one. 41 years old. No FR. I had to teach myself how to cook, clean, hygiene, makeup, everything. I cut mine off. I don't even want to know what she cut. Oh, she cut her mother off. I thought she I don't know, cut off her tit or something. I don't know, because these bras are crazy. In your everybody in the comment, tell your mom I said choing yoing 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 choing yoing 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 choing yoing 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 dee doink dee doink a diggy diggy choing yoing yoing. All right, let's see the replies. Oh, they're laughing at the dee doink part. I get it. Okay. All right, let's see. Does anyone else mom feed them poorly? Did anyone else mom feed them poorly? Of course they did. They're black women. That's why they have like terrible shapes. Okay. Encourage sedentary living. Yes, they're black women. Then constantly remind them that they were too big and needed to lose weight. No, because they're black women. They told them that the world should accept them, that they're large and in charge, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Mine randomly stopped buying me clothes. Yeah, you on that princess stuff. Your name is literally Princess. You know. Okay, we don't know to what extent. I mean, the fact that she stopped buying you clothes means that she was buying you clothes. What, did she buy you a new outfit every day, but she skipped a couple of Thursdays and you're like, oh, poor me? We don't know. Like, by stop, did she like not buy you clothes between 5 and 13? Like, we don't know the extent of what you're talking about. So I'm gonna leave that one alone. My mom visibly enjoys me when my life isn't going well. I noticed that too amongst black mothers, really amongst black women in general, but the older the black woman is, the more that becomes a reality. Like, you don't hear them when you're doing good. You won't see them at your graduation. You won't see them this and this. But let something go bad. Let your husband go to jail. Let your husband get caught cheating or something like that, and then that's when she shows up. Let your son turn out gay. That's when she shows up. You get fired. They come out of nowhere. My mom embarrassed me so much when I was young. Yeah, yeah. What did she do? Show up to school with a bonnet on? Because that's commonplace now. My mom didn't teach me anything and then shame me for not knowing, but I'm absolutely gorgeous and cut contact. Dang, these are some self-aggrandizing women. Okay. My mother used to have meltdowns when I looked presentable. She literally refused to take me to the mall once over it because what in the hell? All right. Here, let me stop that. All right. Anyway, it says this happened to me. I didn't realize it. She never got me braces, and I crocked, and I had crooked. Excuse me. I had crooked teeth until I could afford Invisalign myself. Okay, that is the same story of, and she made a video on this, so I'm not putting her on blast. That's the same story of Danica Marie. Yeah. My mom purposely fed me bad food to keep me fat. Who does this sound like? About 80% of Black women. Now, it's sad that they are continuing to feed their daughters that crap. Like, at least the women here are coming to the realization that they were done wrong. These women are just doing wrong. It's sad. All right. Every time I do my hair or nails, my mom would talk down to me. Why are you doing that? You finna fry your hair off. Well, I don't know the science of it, to be perfectly honest, but y'all do some weird stuff. Bai didn't teach me anything, not even about my cycle. Oh, so now this is interesting because I know many of you are very young. But they did a remake of it. There was a movie called Carrie. Came out in the 70s, so this is even before my time. But I watched it like a rerun or what have you. My dad watched it on HBO. And I'll never forget this movie because I was so young when I seen it that I thought that all blonde white women were telekinetic. I really did. It basically dealt with a young girl who was like Jean Grey without the mind reading stuff. She can move objects with her mind. But before that, she was mistreated horribly by her mother, and her mother didn't tell her about her cycle. So, when it happened, she was in the middle of gym in the shower room, and she got caught off guard, and the other girls were making fun of her and throwing tampons at her, and it was just a terrible thing. That's where this comes from? Like, is this commonplaces for women to be this messed up? Wow. I fear my mom did this to me. I mean, well, you would know if your mom taught you how to wipe your cooch. Moms be the original OP. Okay. My mother did this 100, 100, 100 for my skin to my hair, no effort at all. I had to learn about keeping it up myself. That's why so many young wigs. It's amazing to hear this. Like, when seeing a bunch of adult women walking around with bonnets, wigs, and weaves, and some of them even have, poured down their care and, bad hygiene in many cases and overweight. I mean, now we're looking at the source. I'm glad they're not blaming Jermaine. All right, let's see. She always told me as a kid, thank God your adult teeth grew in better than the ones you had as a kid. I was worried for years you'd have a gummy smile. I was like 6. My mom did this to me. She used to buy me big clothes, ugly clothes, and a lot of stuff. I look bad and be like, dang, she really never liked me. She stopped buying me clothes for me. She stopped buying clothes for me when I was 15, so I had to work in order to buy everything for myself. Okay, that is 15. Some parents are just like that. I don't think that that's what was being talked about here. I don't actually agree with forcing your 15-year-old into work. But also it depends on the kid. But like, if you have like an A student and having an extracurricular activity would give them that extra nudge that they need, or volunteering at the local charity will give them that extra nudge that they need to get into the Ivy League or something, but instead you got them flipping burgers, then yeah, you're doing your kid a disservice at that point. But if your kid wants some extra money for better clothes or whatnot, then it's nothing really wrong with that. I mean, use your judgment. I don't really know what her case is, but I do know she's light-skinned and she got some big titties. All right, it says, to frame this outside of dating, some moms didn't teach their daughters to love themselves through self-care, emotional regulation. It's the same thing, just take out dating. All right, let's see. Cut my hair like a boy. Ooh, dang. Let me have buck teeth forever. It destroyed my self-esteem and I got bullied for it. I don't doubt that happens. My mom purposefully wanted me ugly and she was always mad when people commented about me being pretty. Wow. She never taught me basic things. I'm still learning. Things is awful. All right, let's read some comments. Let's read some of you guys' comments. Because we could go on and on. All right. Salute to most hated bronze flat power of God. Says peace to everybody. Appreciate you. All right. Smelly cat. All right. Says these black live their lives through sitcoms and social media. Yeah. And sisterhood meetings. Absolutely. It's no wonder why their living dynamics are so messed up. Yeah. Fashion has nothing to do with femininity. I beg to differ. One of the elements of femininity that I admire most, and I said this on what's her name? Precious channel, is a woman's ability to make things more beautiful. That's why many married men, don't really care. Like when that's how they make a house into a home. Like if when you're single, you have a bunch of white walls with no pictures hanging up, and that's that. And that's because men are more comfortable in stuff like that than women are. But then you put a woman in the same place, next thing you know, the walls are painted, and they're painted lavender and the doors are painted, topaz or whatever. And there's pictures that they find at art conventions and stuff hanging everywhere. So, the ability to make things more beautiful, including, their clothes, that is something that they have that we just don't have. So I would call that feminine. Now, overspending on crap is also a byproduct of that, and it's a very unfortunate one. Salute to Ray. All right, Jason says, you rarely hear black men talk about their mothers, no matter how bad of mothers she is. This is true. Is she seen as a deity? Whenever black mother is criticized, it comes from their daughters, and that's because they're the ones who are able to do it without being accused of having mommy issues. They're the only ones that are able to do that without being accused of having mommy issues and just having everything that you say dismissed. But even this black woman, she did this video about how black women are raising their daughters. I mean, she didn't put race on it, but we all know what this is. And then she had to say something to the effect of white women do it too, or what white women do is equally bad. Because wanting the best for your child is really just as bad as wanting the worst for your child. That's why she did the follow-up video, to just kind of, pull back on the critiques that she was giving to black mothers. I think my experience told me so much stuff about her mother doing a lot of the same stuff in those comments. Yeah. Oh, your ex-wife. Okay. Okay, so let me read it again. Your ex-wife told you so much about her mother and a lot of the same stuff. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I say that, and I'm assuming that your ex-wife is black. I'm saying that this is a cultural thing in our community. You have mothers nullifying daughters, making each generation less attractive than the previous. Cross-dressing male are not feminine at all. Absolutely not. No, I agree. Most fashionable women have absolutely despicable, filthy cars. Well, yeah, I wouldn't say that the despicable car part is part of femininity. She was black. Yeah, I figured that. That's the type of crap that they do. I mean, they don't lose points in the sisterhood for having, grotesquely unappealing daughters. They just don't. Once their daughter reaches 4 and they stop getting the attention that they once got from having a child, the cute attention, everybody want to come visit, then stuff starts to go downhill for that child. All right, gonna read comments in the next one, and this is when she's talking about the opposite side.
So on the opposite.
All right. Wait a minute. It does seem to be more white women that relates to the opposite side, but it's only 8 comments. All right, make this easier. Describes my mom. Ballet modeling classes. Absolutely hated it. Wanted to play volleyball and was told no because of modeling. Being smart, no. My mom did not show up for college graduation. Toxic mothers are real. Some of this seems to be cap. But because it's like too convenient and too opposite. But this is a white woman, and she's saying ballet and modeling classes. So when picking wives, and they're wondering why, why are the successful black men, going after Becky with the good hair? Well, I could tell you it's not just the hair. It's the fact that when she was in ballet and modeling and volleyball, you were sitting at home eating SpaghettiOs, not washing your cooch. So she comes at an extraordinary advantage. Here's what it is. My mom wasn't putting me in beauty pageants when I was 6 months old. And when I got older, she pulled me out of them. Wait, my mom was putting me in beauty pageants when I was 6 years old. And when I got older, she pulled me out of them and became very jealous. She would one day make me her doll and then sabotage me when I tried to be my own person. Okay. I don't know. I don't know. Your mom sounds made up or weird, but one minute she wants you to be a doll, the next minute she's sabotaging you. So she just like switches from opposite ends of the spectrum. I mean, okay. This is the comment of the day. Describe a good mom. Because this is literally a damned if you do, damned if you don't mother description that she was talking about. All right. To be honest, I'm thankful my mother for raising me and loving me, and am glad she loves me for the person/woman I am becoming instead of hating me or trying to fit me into a mold. Unfortunately, that's not all mothers like this. So she's basically like, that's a you problem. Appreciate her honesty. Did you know FV's sister left this? Okay, what is that? Is this another Chonyoyoing? Let me see if I get a translation on this. I don't even know what language it is, so I probably won't, but all right. Let me see if I can get a translation on it. Give me a second, y'all. So it's the word photo. Okay, I'm not going to deal with such foolishness. I'm just going to move on. This is going to be the last video I cover today.
I cannot stand the women that talk shit about the decentering men space, and they're like, yeah, but you talking about them is technically centering them. And it's like, y'all say this as if you're consciously making a choice in your life to not center them. I cannot tell you how many women are like, I want to have children. How am I going to have children without a baby? How am I going to have a family without a man? Who am I going to be able to sleep with if I no longer have a man in my life? What am I going to do if I end up lonely? What's going to happen if I die alone? Women that say that shit just simply want to deflect from the problem, and they literally don't want to have the harsh reality shown to them that you're centering men, and because you're centering men.
Okay, I haven't watched this. I just seen the title. But I knew that it's just some more of what she always talks about, and that is decentering men. And the reason why I played this video is to point out that she is what she claims that her mother is. She grew up to be her mother. I'm going to repeat that. She grew up to be her mother. Just like her mother set her up for failure in relationship, she's setting up as many women as she possibly can for the same failure. You need to decenter men, decenter men, decenter men. You are a former stripper. Men were your bread and butter. No, but we need to decenter them. Basically, they want to decenter men to create a generation of thirsty men. That's what they do. They want to invoke thirst into men. That's the same thing that your mother was doing. They're just eliminating competition. And that is what you are doing. You are your mother. It's just that you don't have a daughter to put your crap on. So you put it on, TikTok followers, younger TikTok followers. But no, the questions that your audience is asking is valid questions. Like, how are you going to have a family without a man? How are you going to have a daughter if you decenter men? You're talking about men, but they aren't in the center. These are valid questions.
Your life is set back because you're choosing to center men. You have no sense of identity. Okay, you have no self-esteem. You have nothing that you're interested in because you're male-centered. I do not believe any woman that says that talking about decentering.
What are you interested in? What are you interested in? Yeah, let's continue.
Men is still male-centered. I highly doubt that that woman is not male-centered, because it's honestly the same talking points that men have. Men tend to have this logic in their brain that the quicker they get to an answer, it means that they're smarter. So like that's the reason why they talk about how, the body count theory, the body count logic. So, if a woman has a high body count, her value is low. If a man has a high body count, his value is high. Okay, they never actually look at the discrepancies in between that logic because, if the male's body count is high and you want the woman's body count to be low, then the men would.
Okay. Listen at the language. Notice how she called men males and women women. I'm going to go back a bit so y'all can hear that. Because I want y'all to know what y'all dealing with. Like you might find yourself, she might try to put on a mask and I'm not talking about a physical mask. I'm talking about, code switching. She might try to code switch and try to get at one of you brothers. And she's going to, pretend to be on your side, but there's always going to be,
they never actually look.
There's always going to be little cues like this one.
The discrepancies in between that logic because, if the male's body count is high and you want the woman's body count to be low.
When you hear something like that, shout out to Ramil, pump and dump.
Then the men would just be sleeping with each other at that point. That would be the logic in between that. If decentering men is still centering men, then how come y'all are still?
That is not the logic between that. If a male, because men's body don't count. So yeah. No, men brag on the number of women they sleep with, not men. What the hell? Was that supposed to be her aha? This whole logic fails. Wow.
Still getting cheated on? How come y'all are still getting baby mamaed? How come y'all are still begging for a ring, even if it's a ring pop, even if it's a fucking cluster, even if it's a $25 ring from fucking Walmart? Like, the proof in everyday real life is not even showing that you all are.
Well, they're begging for marriage, not the ring, which is why the value of the ring is immaterial to them. They're begging for marriage, yes. What's wrong with that?
Even consciously making a choice to decenter men, which is why we have to talk about decentering men. Y'all do not know male nature, because if you know male nature, y'all would not be on here crying on the internet about how you got baby mamaed. Okay, there are women on here literally going on dates saying that they picked a man up on the very first date, as if it would sound any better as if it was the 100th date. But there's literally women on here talking about how they had a first date, they picked up the guy on the first date, and then they talked about how horrible it was.
Okay, date guys that can pick you up with a car and with his arms. Got it.
We need to have decentering men spaces to talk about this stuff, because you all are not consciously making a decision to even not have them centered, because no woman that actually has men decentered would fucking pick a man up on a first date and then also get.
Well, if the man is decentered, then she wouldn't pick him up at all, nor would she allow her to or him to pick her up. He's decentered. Once again, this is all a ploy to create value through scarcity. The more women decenter men, the more men are available to her. This is stripper logic. The fewer loving relationships there are in society, the more men go to the strip club to get their rocks off.
On here and cry about it. You all don't know enough about men to say that there should not be any mention, because guess what? When we weren't talking about,
I know enough about men. And I know you're full of crap.
this stuff, y'all were still getting played, getting cheated on, getting used, getting manipulated. Y'all don't know what.
Yes. Yes, you were. And guess what? You're going to continue to go through these things with or without that mentality. I can't stop men from cheating. See, here's the thing about men, and this is something I could tell you and any other woman about men. Outside of our desire to fuck, each and every single woman we're attracted to, we are spectacular. We are the greatest thing that the universe has ever seen. We are the greatest gift to you that any species could possibly ever have. Understand that and make no mistake of that essential fact. The greatest thing ever. It's like if Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali morphed into one spectacular boxer, is what men are. Our only thing, just like Superman's only thing is kryptonite, our only thing is that we like more pussy. We're not biologically monogamous. If you can't see past that one flaw, then literally go fuck yourself. Because you don't have men in your center. You're never going to find anything like us. Our ingenuity, our intelligence, our strength, our courage. Someone who's self-sacrificing for you. while at the same time being gentle and kind, but will literally gouge another man's eyes out with his own thumbs if necessary. There is nothing in the universe better and more fitting to it. And yeah, we have that one flaw. Find a way to deal with it, or step the fuck on. Hit the like button.
The fuck you're doing to say that talking about men is still keeping them male centered. You literally don't have the education on men. You do not have the depth. You literally are having your life experience as a woman thinking that a man is thinking the exact same way as you. And because of that, you're going to get fucked over.
No, she understands that men think completely different than them. That's why she's attracted to them. And we also think completely different than how you would like for us to think. And in some ways, and this is, I was just thinking about this, you are thinking like men. And when I say thinking like men, you're thinking like the men that you are attracted to. Women tend to be more attracted to men who do not center women, who's focused on himself more so than other women. You admire that ability in those type of men, and you decided to mimic it in yourself. You see, these women do have an appeal with certain women because, they are the feminine shell of quote unquote masculine qualities. That's why, you have people like the Queen Maker, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that, appeal to certain simple minded women. Hit the like button.
Every single time. Every single time. You might as well just face the music and listen to what the fuck we're saying and accept it and go on ahead and have a life where you're gonna be much less stressed. Okay, you're not gonna have all this stress. You're going to be able to achieve more in life. You're going to have more things going for yourself because you actually are going to have the knowledge that you need to not live a life.
Everything you have going for yourself right now, there's a married woman who has more going for herself and her kids. You're wearing medical scrubs or something, but you're not a doctor. Yeah, they're doctors with kids. Should ask my doctor. I have a female PCP. I should ask her if she has any kids. Kind of cute too. Actually, I don't know if she's cute. I only seen like the top of her face because she always has a mask on when I see her. But like, nice body and hair and top of her face. So far, so good.
Where you're male centered and you're constantly getting screwed over by people that only have the intention to use, extract, and discard you. I cannot stand the women that talk shit about the decentering men space in their.
Okay. So now we realize that she is her mama. And somebody said it best, they're flabbergasted. I have trouble with that word. They're flabbergasted at how unaware of themselves women are. Yeah, it is spectacular. That's why I do these TikTok of the days. All right. Because how else are we going to address the issue without talking about it? Absolutely. And that's something I would say to detractors of the manosphere space. So I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be that person in all your relationships. What's the common denominator? Once you figure out, maybe you can understand what needs to be fixed and that maybe these aren't just men issues. Boom! Boom. Yeah, she kind of killed her with that one. Part of Decentering Men is taking a look at yourself too. Queen Saber said this in this very video. Okay. Every woman I know who was formerly a pygmy has decentered men and has reaped the rewards of not only being mentally free. Okay, yeah. But financial abundance. Oh, Christ. Okay. How financially abundant is Jeff Bezos' ex-wife? Like, how financially abundant is Mark Zuckerberg's wife or Bill Gates' wife? She's so financially abundant. Shut up. You're stupid. Financially abundant and has improved physical health. Okay, so you mean to tell me that she was fat when she was with the guy and then she lost weight afterwards? I wish I had done it sooner. Conversations are needed. It's education. They don't want to do the work. What work? What work? Oh gosh. It doesn't take work to decenter something. Kind of like if the center of your life was the gym and you stop going, and then you say, I got to put in the work. I got to put in the work to stop doing something. You're stupid. You can't stop the fire without acknowledging the fire burning in the house. Okay. Time to wake up, girlies. I decentered 2 years. You eventually hit a point where you center yourself and don't want to talk about them anymore. I choose joy now. But you're talking. You're talking. These bras are slow. Simone Bikes did. She picked him, and he was worth the drive. I don't know who Simone Bikes is. All right, I'm gonna read a couple more of these because these are lowbrow. They think talking about dismantling the systemic patterns we face through sexism and patriarchy means we are still centering our lives. She didn't really talk about any of that now, and I don't think she ever does. We just watched 3 of her videos. We don't need any of that. How beautiful is her hair? Natural beauty. I guess. This is so true. Your hair looks great. It's given crown. Okay. Facts. Whenever they do that, they didn't watch the video. By the way, when y'all put stuff like that in the comment section, I just assume you didn't watch the video. But and I know I'm not insulting anybody that's watching it now because people like that don't watch the video. Okay, I agree 100% with you. You're finally on my timeline again. Literally, let's see. Okay, here's one of substance. Let's see. How many times have we learned that just because you're married, it doesn't guarantee that your husband is going to be faithful? You see what I'm talking about? You see what I'm talking about? Listen, I'm not saying that a woman should expect to be cheated on or tolerate being cheated on, but I'm saying that I think that y'all really just put too much emphasis on that. If a man is good to you, then a man is good to you. Like why is it it's kind of like taking an exam with 100 questions on it and a person don't answer one of the questions correctly, so they get a 99% on the exam, and all the teacher want to talk about is this person failing that question. Like say if it's a multiplication table for I don't know a third grader or something like that, or a third or fourth. I forget when you learn that, but say it's a multiplication table for an elementary school student, and they get all of them right except 7 times 8. And then this teacher just reads to the class, yeah, so I had this student that thought he was so smart, but he didn't even know what 7 times 8 was. It's giving that. Or there for you when you're sick. Okay. Now she's just making stuff up. Or even they're with you when you die. No, because he's dead already. This broad is slow. She's complaining that he's not there when you die. Name me the woman who can live to complain about her husband not being there when she dies. You are so dumb. You are spectacularly dumb. Like, there's just a lineup of women who are complaining that their husband wasn't there when they died. You're stupid. And decentering men is going to guarantee that nobody is there when you die. You're stupid. You are stupid. The women who get mad at us are the same ones who have shared accounts with their husbands because they can't trust them by themselves. You know, I thought the last one was stupid. She's basically saying that the women who are mad at you have husbands and you don't. While this one is complaining about dying alone because her husband won't be there. This is spectacular. I'm glad that these women will not procreate. We'll have a whole idiocracy problem on our hands. All right. Many women still seek validation and approval from men. It's disheartening. Of course it is. Because stuff like this, alerts men of their value, and you don't like that because you look like this. You're the same wig wearing bitch that she was talking about in the last video. Her mama didn't teach her how to wig or wash anywhere. It's disheartening to see this ongoing cycle in 2025. I believe in empowering oneself and build self-worth independently. Yeah, good luck with that. All right. Says the brokest woman on the planet or in the country. All truth, they make everything about men. Yeah. Talking about men warns other women. Men don't want us talking about what they do. Listen, it's not complicated what we do. It's not. Everything y'all can complain about really comes down to one simple thing, and that's we want more pussy. That's it. Hey, we're not perfect, but we're pretty fucking close and a lot closer than you are. We want more pussy. You're going to complain? That's it. Each and every single complaint that they have comes down to that one simple fact. Get over it. You pathetic human being. So, and the fact that you're warning about that, I'm warning you, he want more pussy. Yeah, yes. Yes, you could sound the siren like they do before the purge. Like, I'll tell you. Like, what you think anybody could tell you that. Is it a profound warning like the ones I break down to people? No. I'm going to tell you a secret about male nature. They like threesomes. Shout out to Shoe on Head, You want to know what I like more than one candy bar? 2 candy bars. You dim-witted fuck. All right. Some women will sacrifice their own peace and dignity for a man. Well, they do that because they find greater comfort with that man. It's sad to see. And it's not like you're at peace or you have any fucking dignity. All right. I'm so grateful to women like you and Cecilia. I don't know who that is because all of these content creators, I'm finally free. How come when men are free, it's a loneliness epidemic? But when women are lonely, it's a free epidemic. Notice that? When women are lonely, it's free. When men are free, it's lonely. Just saying. Without all this knowledge, I would be with a terrible man destroying my life, or you would be with a great man building your life, building a family together, and they all lived happily ever after. I was raised in a misogynistic culture. I am from the Middle East. Holy crap. Okay. I am so grateful that my English is good to understand you. And that's another thing. When you have the Austin Hollamans of the world going to former British colonial Africa, like Kenya, they're getting the women who speak English and are poisoned by the same rhetoric that these women are. But when you go to Latin America, you know what you see? You meet a group of women that never watched an episode of Sex in the City, living single or set it off. For whatever reason, they've seen Chucky, 500 times. But that aside, you're dealing with a completely different crowd. Feminism does not spread there as quickly because the conduit which what they use to spread it, English media, American media, don't really get to them the same way. But a girl from Kenya, oh yeah, she watches it. She know exactly who Cleo McDowell is. She know exactly who Ricky is from Boys in the Hood. She know everything. She knows what WAP stands for. I'm so grateful and worst of all, she listens to women like you. I'm so grateful that my English is good to understand you because my life has literally changed because of TikTok. Yeah, right. You went from a potential wife to a protective, loving man to a bitter broad on YouTube. All right. Anyway, let me get out of here. All right, let's see. Saboteurs, absolutely. But I mean, once again, her mother was a saboteur and she grew up to be a greater saboteur. Your mama only sabotaged you. You are sabotaging dozens, perhaps hundreds of women. These TikTok videos are further proof that fathers are needed in the homes. Yep. Decentering men. Yeah, that's just another way of saying, what's that called? Divesting. That's just another word for that. It's just a multi-ethnic way of saying that. So she could appeal to a larger audience and get more money. Exactly, 100. The lack of self-awareness in women is, yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. Yeah. Third wave, or whichever wave of feminism are on now, is basically led by femcels and lesbians. Well, it's always been led by lesbians, and it's really always been led by femcels. Understand this about feminism. Those are the two groups of women that suffers under patriarchy the most. I'm going to repeat that. Those are the two groups of women that suffer under patriarchy the most. Imagine being an ugly bitch and having your entire livelihood dependent on your ability to attract the mate. That's not a comfortable environment. Or imagine being a lesbian and the only way you can eat is if you learn how to suck a dick. I mean, that's pure torture. So of course they're going to gravitate towards something like that. But because like what's her name? Alex Haley. She's like married to like a young Hawaiian girl right now. Years after she married after she made The Color Purple. Going on 50 years after she made The Color Purple, she's out there, licking good. So of course they want to end patriarchy because there's no place for unattractive women in a patriarchy, and there's no place for lesbians in a patriarchy. So yes, they want to, it's okay, but you're stupid if you listen to them. See, women have their guard up from men who want to penetrate them because they have developed that guard, but they don't really see what's happening when an overt unattractive woman or an overt carpet muncher comes their way, and they have the same agenda. Recreational use only, absolutely. False equivalency. Women can sleep with anyone and men can't. Absolutely. I mean, basically, when a woman isn't sleeping with anybody, it shows restraint. When a man is, it shows charisma, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So absolutely. Well spoken, but I ain't saying shit. Listen, they all do that. They all can speak well. Speaking is not a difficult thing to do. Articulation is not very difficult, especially, to a group of people who watch as much television as they do. They all code switch. They just rarely code switch for the men, in their, they only do so when they have to. Former stripper only know what to extract from men. They don't know men. They understand men lust, but they don't understand, it's not like they're seeing men provide and protect for their families. They only see men when their dick is hard. All right. I never seen my PCP's face either. Yeah. I actually kind of curious. Like I say, she's kind of cute. Give me curry fever. She's Indian. All right. It says, they don't think high of themselves. So when a man shows what he thinks is value in her, she resents him and they self-sabotage. I can see that. Yeah. Most of these women don't want good men. Otherwise, they wouldn't put guys in the friend zone if women prioritize respect, friendship. Good point. But that goes back into what I said. They respect the guy that has options and that has decentered women. If you are in the friend zone, it means that not only are women in your center, that particular woman is in your center. So she don't respect that. So once again, and it's just like when you see, a lot of these lesbians who actually become the man that they are attracted to. I'm going to answer this. So hold on one moment. Okay, I'm back. All right. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, exactly. So that's why they don't respect guys in the friend zone. And like I say, when I notice that women who are, like that, they're lesbian, they tend to become the man that they find attractive. Like their definition of masculinity. Like that little gremlin chick from All American, who is possibly like on some, she looked like the daughter of Flavor Flav and Lil Wayne. She's just like one, she looked like a burnt match. But she and more attractive, but still, not feminine at all. Snoop from The Wire, they tend to have like, they could emulate any type of man that they want to, but they emulate their definition of masculinity. And that's what this woman is doing. That's what decentering men is. She is putting her definition of masculinity on men, which is one who doesn't have women in the center of his being, or at least not appearing like he does. Okay. Very stupid. Like J-Lock said, recreational use only, fake names and hotel rooms. Yep. I should start telling them my name is GC. All right. What some men, and those aren't my initials. Yeah, those aren't my real life initials. What some men do is allowed by majority of women, aka guys who cheat, need women to cheat with. I see what you're saying. You're saying that the women are condoning it with their actions. Point A to B, my eggplant and her cat. Yeah, it's not rocket science. I mean, you would have been better off putting two cats there, but yeah, get your point. Okay, she can probably make grits. LOL. I don't think she has any deemable value whatsoever. Anyway, I'd like to thank everybody that participated. Stay tuned tomorrow for the TikTok of the day. This is GameChanger 00100. Game over. Peace.